Well, your opponent, Barack Obama, did offer something new today. I'm sure you've heard about it. He said that there should be a 90-day foreclosure moratorium for homeowners who act in good faith, and also a $3,000 tax break for businesses that create jobs. What do you think of that?
Well, obviously the second part has been a proposal of mine, and I mean, we all want to create jobs and create incentives for doing so. On the first one, he wants to give a 90-day moratorium. That's fine. But what I want to do is have some of this $750 billion, about $300 billion of it, go and buy out these bad mortgages. And of course, the parameters are for people, it's a primary residence, a certain income level and all that, and give them a new mortgage. Give them a new mortgage so that they can afford it and they can stay in their homes. And I might add, during the Depression, there was a homeowners, it was a bureaucracy that was set up, that the Homeowners Loan Corporation, and they provided these new mortgages, and after a number of years, actually the government got paid back. And that is also a suggestion that Senator Hillary Clinton made not that long ago. I agree with her.
I want to ask you actually about that particular proposal. I'm sure we've heard some angst, even ire, from some of your fellow conservatives about that, saying, wait a minute, why does Senator McCain, somebody who follows the conservative credo, want to use government money to help borrowers and lenders whom you yourself said in the spring should not be helped if they're irresponsible?
Well, first of all, I want to help responsible people. Second of all, who are we helping now? Who are we giving the money to now? The same people who were the co-conspirators in this crisis, the greatest crisis of our time. That's who we're giving the money to now. And again, I want people to be able to stay in their homes. This crisis, this conflagration was ignited by the housing crisis. And it was Fannie and Freddie and Wall Street and corruption, or certainly cronyism in Washington, D.C. that caused it. And so until we get housing prices, home prices, to stop their decline and start back up again, we're not going to really be able to make a lot of progress. So in all due respect to the critics, who are we giving the money to now? The same people who would bear a great deal of responsibility for this crisis, when the fact there were homeowners who owned their home who now find a plummeting value, and their very American dream is being jeopardized.
Let me ask you about the economy. You said yesterday that that because of the economic crisis that has contributed to your fall in the polls. But if you believe, as I obviously know you do, that you have the right policies, the right ideas, why should a bad economy be a negative thing politically for you?
Well, I think it's a negative for all of us who are in elected office, but I have a positive plan. We'll bring the economy back. I'm campaigning all over this country, and I see people reacting very positively to my proposals.
Why is Barack Obama, obviously, is in elected office? His poll numbers seem to have gone up, and confidence in him with regard to the economy seems to have gone up, while you have had the opposite.
Well, you know, what seems to be to some is what seems to be in others. We're doing just fine. I'm happy where we are. We're, as I said in my statement, we got them just where we want them. We're going to be just fine. I have been written off, Dana, on so many occasions by political pundits that it's hard for me to count. I think it's more lives than a cat. But the point is, we're doing fine. I'm happy with where we are. We're fighting the good fight. That's what it's all about. That's what I love.
I want to ask you about Jeremiah Wright. You have made it very clear in your advertisements and even on the stump that you believe associations with regard to Barack Obama are fair game, and you've been specifically talking, though, about William Ayers. Many Republicans, I'm sure you've heard this, have said to me and to others, why is William Ayers fair game and Jeremiah Wright, who has a much more clear established relationship with Barack Obama, in your view, is off the table?
Well, because William Ayers was an unrepentant terrorist. I mean, he's a person who on 9/11 said that he wanted to set off more bombs. I mean, this is a very big question, I think, that people have to ask. And clearly, Senator Obama said he was, quote, a guy in the neighborhood.
Why not Wright?
Because Mr. Ayers is an unrepentant terrorist. And that's a unique individual in American history, a person who still wants to destroy America, he and his wife. who both want to still destroy America. That's an unusual breed of cat. And so, look, and the fact is that Senator Obama was not truthful in telling the American people about his relationship. Very frankly, Dan, I don't give a damn about an old unrepentant terrorist, but what I do care is telling the truth to the American people. Senator Obama didn't tell the truth to the American people when he signed a piece of paper back when he was a dark horse. It said he would take public financing if I did. That's his signature on a piece of paper. He wasn't telling the American people the truth when he told them that he would, quote, sit down with John McCain. Looked right in the camera during his debates with Senator Clinton. He would sit down and negotiate with John McCain before he made a decision on public financing.
Now, whether it's a coincidence or not, since, as I know you've heard this during your rallies, since you had been talking about Ayers, and your running mate has also, we've heard people in the crowd screaming things like terrorist, traitor, when you talked about Senator Obama, and worse.
I've heard the same thing. I've heard the same thing at. I've heard the same thing, unfortunately, at Senator Obama's rallies being said about me. There's always a fringe element that's in politics in America. The overwhelming majority of the people that come to my rallies are good and decent and patriotic Americans. And if they're worried about this country's future, that's correct. But to somehow intimate that of the thousands of people, 17,000 people were just with us in Virginia, and to somehow intimate that, that the overwhelming majority of those people, with rare exception, are somehow not good Americans or motivated by anything but the most patriotic motives, is insulting. And I won't accept that insult. I will tell you right now, I'm proud of my supporters. I'm proud of the people that come. I'm proud of those veterans who have served their country, that come to my rallies and fire me up. I love them. And for anybody to intimate that the overwhelming 99 and 99% is anything but patriotic and good Americans is frankly unacceptable, and I won't stand for it.
2 quick questions on this topic,
Sure.
if you will. The chairman of the party of the state you're just talking about, that you're just in today, Virginia, he said that he believes that there is a connection between Osama bin Laden and Barack Obama, because he said they both have friends who bombed the Pentagon. So when you hear something like that.
No, and that's a GOP leader, and I have repudiated every time there's been a statement about Senator Obama made that I felt was inappropriate and unfair. You have people in political campaigns on the outermost fringe on both ends of the spectrum. Now, a respected member of Congress, John Lewis, who I admire and have written about how much I admire, somehow linked me and Governor Palin to racism, to segregationism, to some of the worst aspects ever appear in American politics. And Senator Obama refuses, or has not yet, repudiated those comments. That's not from some, quote, party official. That's from one of the most respected people in America. It's unfair, and it's outrageous.
And because I just want to ask this one last question, because you brought up John Lewis, and I think this is important. I was told by one of your aides that when you saw that statement from John Lewis, your campaign kind of stopped, and you talked to your aides, and you said, this is a big deal, and we need to figure out how to respond to that. And of course, you ended up coming out with your own statement in your name. And in that statement, you said that you were concerned that Lewis and people like him were trying to, quote, shut down debate. What did you mean by that? What do you think that they're trying to do with regard to
the accusation that Congressman Lewis made is so far out of bounds and so disturbing to me? Of course it stopped me in my tracks. I never believed that John Lewis, who's an American hero, who I admire, would ever make a comment of that nature. He even referred to the bombing of a church in Birmingham. That's unacceptable. It's totally unacceptable. And of course I'm not going to accept it, and I'm going to reject it.
When you say shut down debate, do you think it's like, do you think that they're using race? Let's have some straight talk, as you like to say.
I say when anybody says anything like that, that is so beyond the pale, that it stuns me, because that's not what American and this debate should be all about. And so I will reject vigorously, and I will reject that kind of language